Hey everybody, it's Kenny K again, and I wanted to talk to you something different, not a horror movie, a 80s, 70s, whatever horror movie, a found footage movie, but not just a random movie that um, a hidden gem or something. It's more. I'll tell you before I tell the title. If you click in creepiest found footage movie in, let's say, every platform on Google, on people's personal lists, like on Reddit and Facebook, they all come back with one movie, and the Blair Witch isn't in there. That's it's even it has a 6.8 on IMDb. Personally, I'm gonna give it a 5. Uh, Blair Witch Project gets an 8 from me, but it gets a 6.5 on IMDb. So it's actually more popular than the Blair Witch Project. It's one that came out in 2005. Noroi the Curse. Now, you'll probably hear on the name noroi because it's noroi, but they have in some instances you have noroi the curse in the movie, or the noroi is basically. So first of all, I don't like reading. I don't like subtitles. I don't like foreign movies that's Asian, Italian, Spanish. I don't like to read subtitles. Also, what some it's always fast. Subtitles go fast, fast. You gotta read fast, and then you gotta see this. You gotta see everything. You gotta notice everything, but you also gotta read everything because Noroi is a movie that's really a complicated movie. It's a hard one to review too, and um I'm thinking it's an hour and 45 minutes, or it feels like an hour and 45 minutes. It's a long one. It feels like a long one. And is it bad? I'm like I said, I'm giving it a 5 because okay, it's there, yeah, it's okay. The story isn't that uh whoa, it isn't, but at the time it was probably a really very intricate story that never heard of. A little bit of paranormal, and the Blair Witch was also paranormal, but this one is more so the Blair, the paranormal activity movies and such, and so yeah. So now I have now for to, to make it a little bit easier on myself and for you guys to I mean the actors. I personally don't know the actors, so I'm just gonna say a few of the characters that are most prevalent in the movie, which is Kobayashi is probably the most centered character. He's the paranormal investigator. He and his cameraman. He also has a name. I don't know. He has Kobayashi has a wife, Keiko, and then you have Kani, a girl who has supernatural abilities. Let's, for example, somebody with other sensibilities draw something really special, really not just s- uh, a cross or something, but really a special like circle with multiple entrances and shit like that, and like a maze, and she does exact the same thing, like the maze, the exact same, and even the exact same height of the circle, the diameter and the centimeters. It's cool, and she can make water. She creates water in a bottle, in an empty, dry, one of those lab bottles. She creates water out of it. So it's fair to say she has this ability. And then there's somebody else, Mariko. Now, apparently, she plays herself. So I think she is a. They actually use her. I think she is a celebrity in Japan who does also supernatural things. She claims to be supernatural, and she does these programs and you know mystery programs, probably, if I'm thinking, if she plays herself and she's paranormal. Then you have this, one of the creepiest women that I've seen is Jung. I think that's her name, because it's so there's you get bombarded with thousands of Japanese names, and it's hard to you know to keep track. And I think her name is Junko Ishii, and she is the evil, basically, in the movie. But we don't know yet. In the beginning, we think she's a crazy cat lady living at home, uh, a hermit, but she has a small boy. Although she says, "I have no children," she has this. These when they go to her door and ask, for permission to film, she immediately says, "How dare you? How dare you film me? How dare you film me?" She attacks the cameraman, and she immediately closes the door. And they're all like, "Whoa!" And they go on the back and the side of her house, and there are all these dead pigeons, um, which is also weird because the pigeons are fucking crucified. So that's weird. And then when they leave, they see somebody looking from the curtains when they go, and the cameraman just picks it up. It's a little boy. Then you have Mr. Hoary, the most eccentric character of this that I ever seen in a movie. But Japanese movies, I think, have a lot of these sort of characters. It's this guy has a few teeth in his mouth. He's a young guy. Let's say he's 29, 30 max, and he has this a few teeth in his mouth, and he acts like this all the entire time. And it's one of the main characters, and meanwhile he's doing like this. The first time they're introduced with Mr. Hoary, he always jumps at his door of his house, and he always wears this big raincoat completely covered with aluminum foil and like this fisherman's hat in aluminum foil, and his entire house is covered with aluminum, aluminium foil of what's aluminum on, um, and he's standing there. They're going to his house, and they want to interview him, and he's standing there. Oh, hello, Mr. Rory, can we interview? And meanwhile, he's standing there, and he's doing this on the area of his privates. This means apparently come in Japan, not get the fuck away. It means come in. But he's doing this constantly. It's weird. It's weird when he's stalking him. Eventually, it makes no sense in the beginning. Worms, worms, pigeons, pigeons, worms, worms, Kana, Kana. And then he's doing like this, protect Kana, worms. And he's doing this, and eventually they get the fuck out of there because then he starts to completely go crazy and starts to go all over the place, and they decide to go. Now, okay, so apparently Kobayashi, the investigator, the when he went to the what looked like the possessed woman. I mean, this is a spoiler review. By the way, if you don't want to know this, this is a spoiler review. I'm not gonna spoiler review, right? Okay. Before he goes there, he goes to the neighbor's house, a mom with a kid, and she is telling about it, and she hears babies at night screaming, and they report it, and they hear something like babies, but like multiple babies, like 10, 15, 20. They hear multiple sound waves of multiple babies, like 10, 20, 30 babies. It's weird. And she says she hears that every night, and then like screaming and multiple things. And then when they go back trying to get her outside, Junko Ishii, she moved away, and then we go back to the neighbors. They say, yeah, they moved away. We don't have any problems anymore. We don't hear anything anymore. And then they say 5 days later they died. Yeah, apparently car incident. Car incident. They died. Suspicious. They don't know why, how, but they just died. Then this Mariko girl goes to this has this program, and she goes with a few young guys, young men, to a shrine, um, and I think they call it the Noroi shrine. It's And at some point she's completely flipping out. She sees multiple things. She's standing there. She's multiple things. She's seeing this and this and that through the woods, and she's flipping. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. She says, okay, and she starts to seizure, and they have to take her away. Now, after that, okay, the film Kobayashi sees this, he goes to one of her shows. Uh, Not one of her shows. She's in a program where she gets, interviewed program with an interviewer, and then Kobayashi's sitting there too, listening. He's a guest, and they also have Mr. Hori as a guest, and then he comes on stage like we know Mr. Hori, and he attacks her and says, "Pigeons, pigeons, stay away, pigeons," and they have to take her off her and get him out of the room. He just became immediately crazy when he saw Mariko. Uh, Mariko, for some reason, is suffering. She has these weird dreams. A camera is set up at night. She gets up, she goes outside, and she goes back to bed. And apparently, uh, she uh, when she went outside, she only has a balcony, and at the the iron where the metal piece that keeps the balcony enclosed, she wraps rope in knots like chains, like this and this and this, but rope. And she said to Kobayashi, "That's not normal. I don't know that I did this." Then eventually, sh he says, "I'm gonna go to that village that you went to." He goes to that village. It's completely there's nobody living there, and he sees those chains everywhere, those links, and those things have something to do with if you're sort of possessed or in a possessed or a victim that is being targeted. They start to make these links with rope, and for war. And I'm gonna so at some point Mariko has so many nightmares that she asks Mr. Kobayashi that she can stay with him, and she can. And at some point, Keiko, they're making dinner, and they're laughing and they have fun. Then at some point, Keiko's standing there, and that's a creepy shot. I have to say, that's a creepy shot. And it was the first real creepy shot that I thought in the movie. She's standing there, Keiko, and you can't see her face or hair, and she's like this. You don't see her face, just and it looks like she's levitating, or it looks like she's hanged from a rope. You know, it looks that way, and she's doing this weird sound, and then we see like five, six, seven pigeons flying against the window suddenly, and then Keiko comes. She falls to the ground, so she was levitating, and she goes to look for Keiko. Are you alright? She's coming back, and she goes to see what that was in the window. Dead pigeons, and I'm gonna tell you, they used real fucking pigeons to do that. I tell you, yeah. And there's another aspect in this movie where in a ritual, the ritual they do, the noroi ritual, they used fucking dogs, from small cute dogs to big lumpy dogs and fluffy dogs, and they kill them. And I gotta say that at at some point you see what that's in the end. I'll immediately going to the end for to explain the fact that I hope they did not use real fucking dogs, because I know in Asia, I know in China, they eat a dog. I know that, and I'm not sure if this is so much in Japan, but it's like in the outbacks of Japan, so the rural areas of Japan. And these dogs, these dead dogs, are laying everywhere, like disemboweled heads of gutted in pieces. You you name it, it's all tortured. And I really hope they use practical effects on this one, because this is fun. They already use real animals. Again, I don't like that. I did that in a rant review of the Cannibal Holocaust. They used those pigeons. Now, okay, pigeons, but it's not nice because you see them really like like still a few with a broken wing, and it's yeah. But okay, listen. I hope they just didn't use, because there's a moment where there's a village by the dam, and there Kobayashi he goes there, and he sees, like, the reason why he goes there is because he obtained a video where they held, that was in the previous village where Mariko had that, I believe so, that was a village where she had that seizure. And also during that seizure, they spotted on the camera people in the woods with children and grown-ups. Usually a big person and a small person. And the woods were full of them. But of course, those guys didn't see them, but she saw them. That's why she said they're everywhere, they're everywhere. And Kobayashi gets this tape. He gets this tape of a ritual that was held there. This weird ritual that everybody of the town is involved in, and they make this, this square, like somebody's gonna fight somebody, with a pool in the middle, and they take a kid out of there, a boy. And immediately the camera guy said that the boy looked like the boy he saw in the window. Remember when I said they went to Junko Ishii's house, and she's that boy, because she also said, I have no children, and she says that at some point, and screaming and yelling, and that's the only thing they get out of her. But they see the boy. Um, you see the ritual. A priest is coming, and then before the priest comes, you have this lady with this. If you had see the cover of Noroi, you see this weird mask, which looks like covered with blood, and this pointy nose, and this demon's mask, like its horns, and uh, him or her, it's a her, she's Junko, is doing this weird dance, and they get, the priest comes in, and they get these blades, these like big ass sticks with a these broad blades, these crooked blades, moon-like, sickle-like blades, but thicker and sturdier, and it looks like they're gonna fight, but then the masked girl sits down, and the priest does something. He before he keeps the weapon by his side. He starts to do something, bowing once, clapping 4 times, bowing again, clapping 2 times, bowing, and then hitting her with the fucking weapon. But you don't see blood. She's not spliced or something. And she's, you see, you hear it's a girl, it's a woman, and she cries. She's also having this seizure like thing on the ground, and they think that moment was a moment they tried to exorcise a specific demon named Noroi out of her. And Kano, the girl, what I said previous, that's the point that I actually gave this the second chance, and this is the first time I saw this thing out, because the first time put up I stopped at 15 minutes when I was in the classroom where they find out that Kano Kane has these weird powers, uh, and because it's in at this reality show with a guy who looks like a Japanese David Bowie. he comes on, he comes in, and he's with this stupid outfit, and meanwhile the parents are all looking what the children are going to do, because they all picked uh, supernatural sensitive children, okay? And Kane stood out. She was the most powerful one. She disappears. They go back to Hori's house because she was yelling about Kane and the worms, and he said, "Oh God!" He's again standing there. "Oh, Kane is Kane gone, Kane gone. The worms, the worms." The worms, the worms, Connie, Connie, oh my God, Connie, oh, and then he's really doing this like this, and oh, he's, he's, it's like he's really masturbating the entire time uh, with a, um, uh, like he has a cock in his hand, and invisible invisible cock in his hand, and it's weird. It's weird how they act, made this character. It's more laughable than creepy. And then he's standing there while he's doing that. He's, with the outfits, makes it the more sillier. Now, what it's what happens next. Yeah, is so we know Mariko is Apparently, after the at the moment when the Keiko was hanging there, like she's hanged on a noose, and the pigeons fly against the window. Apparently, seven people on a swing set hanged themselves, and they made these links around the swing set, and they hanged themselves. So apparently, people die around Junko and around the people that are supernatural, but Junko, for some reason, and that's what I presumed, because I first thought it was gonna be about aliens, and because Horty has that silver aluminum shit all over his place, like Signal with Mel Gibson when they're sitting there, you know, Phoenix, one Phoenix, and then what's his name? Of one Phoenix, yeah, and the kids, and they're sitting there with the aluminum because the aliens can't read their minds. And I thought, oh fuck, it's not gonna be that. I don't like alien stories in found footage. No, it's totally something else. I don't know why he's wearing that shit because he does get involved in these cases, and he does apparently is not affected or something, and doesn't die. He doesn't, see. He sees things, and I'm guessing he can foresee the future at some point. After that pigeon scene and the people killed, what Mariko, probably things that I'm forgetting, but I know Kobayashi goes to that village by the dam and he sees all these dogs in these pens, and everybody has a dog in their yard. And they're asking some few people, "Do you know Junko? Is she?" "Yes, I know her, but she's dangerous. I would stay away from her if you know what is good for you." Then another lady lets him in. Very nice, very nice. And they're talking a little bit about the township and this and that, and everybody has these dogs, and yes, it's familiar there, she says. And then she talks about Junko Ishii, and she just stands up and walks away like a completely catatonic state, and she walks away and after behind the corner, and she's gone. Poof, gone. So it's weird the entire time because he again goes to the house of Junko, and she acts even more extreme towards the camera guy, and Kobayashi. She almost attacks them. I believe the guy had a scratch and is bleeding, and the camera guy, and so she's even more fucked up. And at some point, multiple people are dying. Multiple people around Mariko are dying. Like, for example, her upstairs neighbor, a young girl that doesn't hear things, doesn't hear knocking all night, which Mariko heard in her apartment. Uh, she doesn't, and the girl works and has a normal life and things like that. Apparently, they found her also hanging at some point on a tree, and multiple people where they talked with, like for example, a guy who lived in an apartment. He doesn't open the door, and you see that from the apartment complex, before they uh, go out and see, they talk with one of the neighbors, a friendly guy with glasses, and he's saying that he's weird and acts weird. He wasn't like that before, and now he's like living like a hermit, doesn't come out anymore. And those pigeons, it smells like pigeon shit everywhere. And when they don't have the result of getting in, they do see his balcony, and you see all the pigeons only on his balcony, sitting only at his balcony. And then he comes out really skinny and all, like he's probably not really eating right, but then he snatches one of the birds, and I think he's gonna just snap the neck and eat it, and he goes back in. So he also at some point hangs a from a ceiling or something. From he hangs. Um, so multiple characters. The guy with the glasses, the neighbor, dead, hangs. So they follow the path they're following. Everybody dies. That Kobayashi follows. That is tied in this entire Junko Ishii story, and that has something to do with her. And then you see those links again on the balcony, hanging on the metal piece of the balcony to keep yourself from falling off. And they're hanging, all those links are hanging there. And at some point, Mariko says, "Okay, I." So this is the entire story. At some point, it's really complicated in my opinion. It's complicated. Yeah, you gotta follow because it constantly goes to a person and to Kobayashi following people, investigating people, interviewing people, and then he's he's on a reality show, and then he's in his office, and then he's with a doctor to hear those noise patterns and all. He's constantly everywhere, and you need to listen that's why I say it's I think the Japanese people, if they use like a word, one word is, I mean, like one emblem, or one of these Japanese letters is like one emblem is like two or three words maybe. So three or four of these emblems is an entire sentence. So they're really fast in talking. Or they're not fast, but they just have these shorter. It's weird. It's weird, and it's hard to follow. It's hard to follow. So Mariko at some point asked, "Let me go to the damn village, and I want to perform because they found a shrine there too. Same with the noroi mask, the sickle things hanging there on the walls, people acting strange. So the village is probably um, connected, like in the previous village." And she says, "I wanna do the 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 dance too, the exercise, whatever you can call it, the weird thing with the mask, and or the weird thing with the clapping, and then she wants to do that too. Uh, but they okay, and they ask Mr. Hori to come. Good job to ask this fruitcake to come with you because but he's sitting there in the car. They really, I'm gonna tell they don't have anything, anything. He's only causing problems because what happened is apparently the village is gone and only a few houses remain. It's all underwater. And what happens is they go on a boat to a certain place where they see on a map where the exact place was underwater, where the shrine was, where the noroi shrine was. They also in me in, at this time know noroi is a demon named Kagub Kagub Kaguba. I'm gonna probably butcher the name Kaguba. And so she's doing the weird thing, the clapping thing, boom, the clap, but again, the clap, bowing, and four claps, and look, and she has a little bit of seizure, and then she wakes up, and you think she's gonna be a demon because she looks at him and smiles weird at him, and she's, I'm fine. I feel good. And I didn't trust shit. I didn't trust shit about that. But okay, she apparently feels better now. But then Hori is yelling, "Come back! Come back! Oh no, God! No good! Come back now! Come back now! Come back now!" And then he goes on, "Got it! Got it! Got it!" And he goes running off in the, to the woods. The camera guy, he's staying there. He's saying, Hori just ran off, and then uh, Kobayashi is running after him. When he came back, and Kamiko is they ask her to sit in the car, and the guy is gonna drive as far as he can through the pathway through the forest. And at some point, Kamiko also has this weird. The camera guy steps out to also go and look, and Kobayashi is running after Hori. It's midnight. At some point, Kamiko has this weird seizure shit again. She's running out the car, and so the camera guy from Kobayashi is following her. And then we see at some point dozens of dead dogs, like I said, dozens of dead dogs. And they know that the ritual they use, there's a professor before all this, they went to a professor who knows about the word kaguba, that it's a demon actually, and that during these rituals they used dead dogs, and they basically needed a person to sacrifice or to possess, and meanwhile they hanged her from a fucking pole, these poles and these links, and feed her. They feed her fetus like anim- monkeys, fetus like looking babies, or monkey. They look like fucking monkeys to me, because at some point when Hori he has this weird seizure, and he's standing there and looks at the, like, it's also a swing but just wooden pole, like this, a gateway, and he's completely in seizure, and his eyes are going like this, his eyes are rolled over, and Kobayashi turns on uh, the green light, and you see Kane, the little girl, hanging there, and the links again around the pole, and then a bunch of things crawling over her. All these, they say that undeveloped fetuses, but it looked like little monkeys with giant skeleton-like heads, and they were all climbing up upon her, and she was nibbling on them. Weird sight to see. Was it creepy? More weird than creepy. I thought those dogs were creepy when all those dead dogs were lying there, and that was more of an omen that I thought, oh shit, what's gonna happen here? Kamiko falls to the ground. She has a seizure again. Then she stops, and they eventually go back to the car, and then at the aftermath, they're in the office of Kobayashi, and they say, because they find the house of Jinko Ishii, and she hanged herself, and we see Kane too, the body of the little girl lying there too. She's dead, but the little boy, is that you see in the beginning, like I said, when he's looking at at Kobayashi through the window, the first interaction with uh, uh, Junko, he's still alive. So what they did was they called the police, and they came in. Eventually, Mariko is doing good. She's relieved. She's back doing her TV things, her reality shows, and whatever. Um, the boy is being adopted by Kobayashi and Keiko. They see him then as their son, adopted child. And Hori had a complete breakdown at some point, and he had to go to a mental asylum. They put him there. But the movie starts, okay, so this is the special. It looks like a happy ending, sort of, right? And then but it's not, because when the movie starts, they said the house of Mr. Kobayashi is on fire. We found the wife, Keiko, but there's presumed to be a boy and Mr. Kobayashi in the house, but we can't find them. Okay. And then they say there are disturbing images. And it's not the images we already saw, it's the images we get. So at some point, at the police, they get a tape sent by Kobayashi after the fire of his house. So we see the reason why everything went fucked up there. So we see them eating, having a pleasant meal with the kid acting strange. They ask him questions, and he looks at them, and he's looking around. He's acting weird, demon-like, yeah, fuck, possessed shit, weird. And uh, hor- um, somebody calls on the door, and there is Hori, not in his Illumian shit, but in just in a bat, a wardrobe, and he just escaped from the asylum, and he has this rock in his hand, and he's like, "Oh, oh, 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 fuck, oh, and then Kobayashi's like, "Yes, calm down, Hori, calm down, let go of the rock." And then he sees the child with Keiko in her hand. He goes to Keiko, hits her with a fucking rock, then takes the kid. Then Kobayashi tries to wrestle with him, and he gets a good hit on himself. And then he's looking, and Kobayashi has a kid in his hand, and he has a rock in his hand, and his intention is to smash his brains in. And then Kobayashi is trying to persuade him not to do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And he's, no, no. And then he starts to fucking brain him to death. And then what happens is he's like, no. He stands up, and we see the demon's face in all its glory. The boy is the demon. The boy was apparently the demon all along. Junko was just a vessel he needed to travel with. He needs somebody to travel with, and he goes from person to person. In this case, it's Hori now. Hori now being possessed. The demon is looking at Kobayashi. He nods to Hori. Hori goes to Kobayashi. Fuck starts to hit Kobayashi fucking face in. Then Kobayashi takes the hand of the demon, gets out. We see out of the wall coming Kane too, the other girl, for some reason. She's also connected to this, following them. And then we see Keiko, Kobayashi's wife, going outside, dropping kerosene on her body and putting her completely on fire and screaming, "Oh!" And then the house is on fire, and but Kobayashi is still, it's not completely gone, so he's still. So I assume he escaped, but Hori didn't. And 5 days later, they find Hori's body all mangled up with blood out of his mouth, and his eyes completely turned white. So probably the demon found another vessel and just went on. So that's the movie. That's the movie. Now, is this one of the creepiest movies that I ever seen? Is this so creepy? People were saying I couldn't get off my chair after seeing this movie for a full hour. I was so scared. The end was so creepy. This a child demon. Yes, I see. I think it's just the fact that we seen too much horror. I think I got desensitized to the fact is okay. It's horrible what happens. That bashing in, knowing then he's a demon, then it's a good thing that he bashes him, and basically he tried to kill the demon, but the demon was stronger and possessed Hori at that moment, and he then changes into his real, uh, the demon in his real demon-like state. The fact that Keiko, that's disturbing that she just puts her on fire and then walks around through the house in fire. That's disturbing, yeah. But and seeing Hori then dead later, he's in this because he liked to lay in these worm-like tubes, and he's laying in this worm-like tube with death. And movie ends, Kobayashi is still missing. So probably, I'm guessing that Kobayashi is now like Ori. He has to constantly stay somewhere hidden or constantly run away. Also do the Illumian shit probably like Ori did and try to protect himself. And I think that's what had probably happened. He's constantly, that's my guess, that he probably is constantly moving around because now he is completely being targeted by the demon. The other weird thing is Mariko doesn't have any problems. She doesn't have. It's like the demon left her alone. It's the thing is apparently that what the explanation was Mariko was Plan B, and if things wouldn't happen with Kane, but why that's so weird. If Kane, if the ritual wouldn't work with Kane, they had a plan B with Mariko, but it worked with Kane. And Junko hanged herself, and the boy was laying there. And now I'm guessing Kane was some kind of offering to the demon, because I believe when he sees it, it's a brief moment. You see a demon-like figure be above her, and I thought so. So it's because the ritual worked that Kamiko is free, but Kobayashi is fucked and he's probably has to run for his entire life, or gets killed, or gets like in that possessed state, making those links, and then hangs himself. So is this, like I said, it's for me a one-time watch. I didn't think it was scary. I liked the mystery about it. It did hold my attention. I really tried with the reading and keep everything together, and this is the best how I can review this movie and tell this movie what happened. Probably left a lot out. I left a lot out. There's talks with a professor when they explain the demon Kaguba and from where he is and this and that. And but the main things I did say in this review that happened, and that I think if you want to know the movie, that's probably the best that I can describe it, and that's the best explanation with the pigeons, with the Kane thing, and Hori with yelling Kane, because uh, I'm guessing he went to Kobayashi's house, not because he knew about the boy, that that he's a demon, and he knew that he held Kane. That's why we see Kane following them. So, but not like a demon or something, just as her girl self, and just. But she linked now to the Hori's. After 5 days, he's like, fuck off. I got a new vessel probably, and they start this entire ritual again. And I'm guessing those villagers go to another rural area. That's because you have all these villages around those dams and around those mountains that are basically deserted, and now they all live there, and then they have the ritual there, and then again and they move around, so it's a bunch of townspeople that are involved in this ritual. So that's a sort of satanic cult for the demon Kogabe. There may be a letter I'm missing of Kogabe, but Kogabu or something. Maybe I'm not sure, but it sounded for me to like Kogabe. I'm just saying Kogabe, blah, blah, uh, as the demon. So now is this scarier than the Blair Witch Project? No fucking way. No fucking way. In no meaning of the word scary is this scary. This, in my opinion, does not deserve 6.8 on IMDb. And then on IMDb, Blair Witch gets a 6.5. It's still a good score for a found footage movie, but it did my okay, for me the Blair Witch Project is one of my favorites. So as a found footage, also a fan of found footage horror movies and slashers and so on, I have to say that that's my favorite. It's 50-50. Some people hate it, some people like it. I liked it, and I give it an 8. Now, in my opinion, on IMDb, it should have given a 7.1 or something like that. Not a 6.5, and this movie is 6.8. This means that noroi, the curse, is probably one of the best found footage movies out there with the best score, because Rotten Tomatoes, I believe, has a similar score. I just cannot. The movie, the story is really uh, intricate and um, really special, and you gotta follow it. It has a lot of things going on, and and everything comes together at some point, and it's good. It's that puzzle. It's a puzzle movie basically. It's like a puzzle mystery movie, and you gotta remember that name, and it's all Japanese names and their profession, what they do, the priest, the demon, the other 50 supernatural people that are in there somewhere. It's a it's a tough watch. It's a really tough watch. It's a okay. Now aside, okay, it's I went through it, and personally, enjoy your day. Bye bye.